Up next in this episode of Dark Winter Nights, True Stories from Alaska, a woman is swept under the water when her truck breaks through the ice.
I landed on the very, very edge of the ice and it broke and I fell in. I went in. I was immediately sucked, completely 100% sucked in.
Don't Let Go. Up next on Dark Winter Nights, True Stories from Alaska. I'm Rob Prince. Well, we're just coming off our last big Dark Winter Nights live event earlier this month, and the show was truly incredible. In fact, one of the stories we featured in the program had far more going on in it than we had time for in the live event. So in this episode of Dark Winter Nights, True Stories from Alaska, I sat down with Jessica Thomas to record even more of the incredible story about the time she went through the ice in her little Datsun pickup truck. Here's Jessica.
It starts one very cold morning in March of 1993 when I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And there's a loud pounding on my parents' door where I was house sitting. I didn't live there anymore, but they were visiting family. My grandmother in Anchorage, and I was house sitting. And a friend of mine who had a habit of showing up at weird hours of the morning, mm-hmm. wanting a ride home, getting dropped off by his buddies.
What morning is this? Like a Monday morning?
No, this is actually a Sunday morning. I was I worked at Taco Bell.
Oh, cool.
when I was 18.
Wow.
And it was second semester of my freshman year of college, and he was still a senior in high school, but we worked well together and were always laughing and cutting up. His name was Jake. Mm-hmm. Anyways, he's pounding on the door one Sunday morning, asked for a ride home.
And you weren't thrilled about this. This was early in the morning. This was earlier than you needed to get up.
Not much, but enough that I was angry.
So he's come a little bit early. Now, tell me a bit about your vehicle, too, because this is a special car that you had at this time. This is
my special baby. So I don't know what year she was. She was a 1980 something or other, but she was a blue Datsun pickup truck. And I called her Dottie. Because it's Dottie the Datsun. Mm-hmm. It's a little obvious, I know, but I don't care. Mm-hmm. I loved her because she's, sense of freedom. You get to go do stuff. You have a pickup truck, But she was she was only rear-wheel drive. She wasn't four-wheel drive, so that was actually really a lot of fun. Yeah.
And the two of you were running late.
We were running late, yes. So I got Jake loaded up and was heading into town, and he was particularly annoying that morning. He kept fiddling and fussing and talking and...
At this particular time, this is kind of a weird thing about Fairbanks, but you had the option for a shortcut.
I did have the option for a shortcut.
Tell me about the shortcut.
So the shortcut.
This is a winter-only shortcut.
This is a winter-only shortcut. It's a Fairbanks-known shortcut. It's the Ice Bridge.
But it's a normal part.
It's normal.
I mean, to people outside, they might think like this is terrifying driving on ice. Yeah. But this is the Chena River. It runs through town. It's no big deal. It's not very fast. It's not particularly deep here.
It's not particularly deep at this particular spot. It's normal. And I pull up there at dark whatever that morning. It's March 14th of 1993. It's 20-30 below. As I pulled up, a car was pulling down onto the ice. I was like, I'm gonna be fine. This car didn't even have an issue. I'll be good. And I pull down onto the ice. And I get out to right smack dab in the middle of the ice bridge. And everything just comes to a halt. And I hear a loud crack. The driver's side front corner of her is kind of leaning down. All of a sudden it hits me that we're sinking. And I freeze. I remember going, I am dead. My parents are going to kill me. Never mind whatever else is going on. But I do remember having the very distinct thought, I'm just going to go down this way because this is going to be a lot less painful
than facing your parents.
Than facing my parents. Read my mother. So in the meantime, I'm noticing that the water has come up over the edge of the door and is actually up over the window. In the meantime, I still have Jake with me. Mm-hmm. That boy was quick on his feet when he had to be. I describe him as spry. He's like that. He's like slim 18-year-old kid who doesn't have his adult weight on him, and he just spry. And so in the meantime, he's already like climbed out the passenger side window. Dottie's at a tilt. So he did a little like hop climb out, and he's standing on the edge of the ice outside the window. He's got 1 foot on the ice. He's got 1 foot on the edge of the edge of the truck and the truck window. And he's going, Jess, we gotta go. And Jess, he finally reaches in and grabs my right wrist. And that thankfully wakes me up. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is not a situation I need to be in. Time to get out of here. And so really, you know, what I remember as being a climb up a mountain of madness was really, I had to put my knee on the passenger side seat and stand up and then kind of, you know, climb just a little bit. And so I get out there, and he's stepped back away from the edge of the ice, but he's still got a hold of me. So, because in the meantime, the water has been rushing around Dottie. She's turned into a boulder in the middle of the Chena River and created this back eddy, backflow. And so the ice has been slowly getting kind of ate away from the edge of the truck there. And I'm standing on the edge of the window, and I've got to do a little jump. No big deal. And Jake's got a hold of me, so I jump. I landed on the very, very edge of the ice, and it was cracked and it broke. And I fell in. I went in. I was immediately sucked, completely 100% sucked in. One minute I was looking at Jake in his face, and next minute I'm under the ice. It's black and cold. I don't think I was breathing. I remember being flat up against the bottom of the ice, like I'm laying on the ice, flat looking through it, but I'm on the wrong side.
Wow.
And there's nothing to grab onto. And I remember realizing Jake still has a hold of my arm. He still has a hold of my wrist. And I remember saying to him, please don't let go. Jake, please don't let go. Don't let go, Jake. And I knew that if he let go, I was gone. Jake's got me out. He didn't let go. I don't know how that spry, no weight on him boy did it. Thank God for testosterone at 18. But he got me out of that river somehow. And we were standing there looking at each other, but we both pause and we both turn and we look at Dottie. And Dottie is still running.
Holy cow.
She's got, you know, she's in this, and the lights are still on, and she's glowing. She's got bubbles coming out of her tailpipe underwater on the one end, and there's something giving off bubbles at the front end, and she's glowing, and her front end is pretty much completely submerged. Her back bumper is still sitting on the edge of the ice on the back end. So she's not 100% sunk. She's probably a good solid 75 to 80% sunk. We're cold, and so Jake's like, we got to get going. And then next thing I know, we're at Justice Store, and we come tumbling through the doors, and the look on the store clerk's face was like like catastrophe had arrived, you know. And so we must have looked insane, but the store clerk was very kind and let us use the phone, because, you know, we don't have cell phones at this time. My first instinct was to call my friend Matt, whose family had a tow truck kind of place here in town. They didn't have big tow trucks. They had normal sized ones. And so I call Matt, and he comes and picks us up, and I'm like, Matt, you got to get Dottie out of the river. He's like, oh. And he's like, all right, well, let's go check this out. And Dottie is no longer running, but her lights are still on.
Aww.
And she's glowing, and she's just this pretty little Dotson butterfly in the middle of the Chena River. You know, Matt, he goes, this isn't something I can do, Jess. You need a much bigger tow truck.
The mother of all tow trucks.
The mother of all tow trucks. I'm like the big kahuna of all tow trucks.
Right. You get home, you get changed and cleaned up, and then you still go to work. That's amazing to me. At Taco Bell.
You know what else was I going to do?
At that time was like $4.25 an hour, probably.
Yeah, I was making $6.35
really?
an hour.
Wow, you remember?
Yeah, I had just gotten a raise.
Oh wow. So you work a full day, which I can't believe.
Actually,
most of a day.
I worked most of a day. So I take off from work.
And then you call.
And then I called
the mother of all tow trucks.
I called the mother of all tow trucks. I called Ron's Towing, and they answered the phone. I said, "So, my truck is in the river," and the guy who answers the phone is like, "Huh." He goes, "Yeah, we've dealt with this before."
Perfect.
I know. I was like,
how convenient. This will be resolved in a moment.
In a moment's notice. Once I got a credit card.
There's the rub.
Because
at 18. Nobody has a credit card.
So my parents, I've mentioned they were down in Anchorage at my grandmother's house. And I thought, well, okay, I can call my parents.
So you were really hoping to get your dad on the phone.
I was really hoping to get my dad on the phone. So he did answer the phone. Mm-hmm. I know my dad. And he goes, hello. I said, hey, whatever you do, please do not give Mom the phone right now. Just going to start out with, because that's not going to raise any red flags, right?
Very clear instructions, yeah.
Very clear, but let me just get to the point right here. Mm-hmm. This is not the time that I want to talk to Mom. You're my man. You're my dad. And I said, so I've had a little bit of a situation come up. Don't worry. Nobody's dead and nobody's in jail. I really don't want to talk about it right now, but I'll let you know. I'll give you all the details on what's been going on when you guys get home. They're supposed to be home like the next day or the day after.
Right.
So I said, but I really I need in order to resolve the situation, which I've already got it all. I've got it all figured out. Everything is in place. It's gonna happen. Everything's gonna be just hunky dory. But there's one thing I need, and that's I need a credit card. So, silence. He hasn't said a word since he said hello. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, here's your mother. Oh! God, Dad! So my mom gets on the phone. Hey, Mom, so what do you, okay, yes, Mom. Uh-huh. Mom.
Wow.
But I don't really hear anything.
Right.
And so finally she got to a point where she decided that it was okay to give me the credit card because I've gone through the mom gauntlet. Mm-hmm. And she gave me the credit card, hung up the phone, called Ron's. So he's like, we can be there in a half hour. You better be there. I was like, okay, yes, sir. And so, but I don't have a way to get over there, so I call my good buddy Jake. Mm-hmm. And he knew he wasn't getting out of it. So he comes in, he picks me up and got me there. Mm-hmm. And he got out of his car with me. But, I go to talk to the tow truck driver thinking that Jake's going to be right there with me. Well, I realize he's not. He's not even looking at the river or towards the river or anything.
Oh, wow.
He is completely disconnected, and he is looking down Chena small tracks towards Chena Pump Road.
Something fascinating
in the distance. Oh my gosh, this tow truck was the big mama giant kahuna mammoth of all tow trucks. This thing, I felt like it was 2 stories high. Mm-hmm. The back arm coming off of it was small crane or big crane. It was enormous. I knew that this truck had pulled semis out of the ditch up on the Attican Pass.
Right.
I mean, and I was feeling comfortable and confident.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is gonna work.
This thing could literally lift your truck off the ground.
Yes. I was so
they brought the big guns.
They brought the big
This thing
ones.
doesn't even have to go on the ice to pull your truck out.
No,
it can do it from shore.
Yeah, he's got it from shore because he's smarter. And actually, this thing would probably, couldn't even be on the ice.
Right.
It's huge. And so we walk out there and we take a look at Dottie, and he sees that her bumper is still thankfully on the back edge of the ice, and And he grunts. I was like, ooh.
Oh, man.
And I was like, so I translate, because I speak grunt. I have a dad who speaks in grunt. And it was basically like, I think we can do this. It's going to take me, he's got the whole schematic worked out, and it's in that grunt. And so we walk back up on shore, and he still doesn't look at me, but he takes his finger and he like points towards Jake, and he goes, go stand over there. I don't want you in the way. And he takes this big, giant cable, like with a big hook on the end of it, and he goes trundling out there and does a bunch of banging and noise making, and comes back, and he's hooked up to Dottie. Dottie is just seconds away from free. And the wire starts turning, and it's making that crazy loud wire winding. Like, I hear it tense and tighten like they do when they start to have weight on them. And then all of a sudden I hear this crazy loud twang, bang, snap. Not even a snap, but like ding. And,
oh, no.
And then a split second later, this torrential flow of the most amazing curse words ever. And it was really, I had heard most of those words before. There wasn't anything new in them, but he was so poetic.
So what had happened?
The wire broke, which seems crazy.
Wow.
And my knight in tow truck shining armor grunted at me. By that point, he'd wound down and said, come on. So we walk out there, and the wire is just laying on the ground limp, and there's a hole. Oh, no. And Dottie is no longer,
oh my gosh,
above water at all.
Oh my gosh.
Her back bumper has slid off the ledge of ice shelf, and she has now completely sunk and submerged.
Oh my god!
Under the water, and she's sitting there just below the surface of the water, but completely submerged because it's not deep there, so you can still see her very clearly. It's like she's being preserved. I'm sitting there, and my brain is turning and turning and turning, and I'm sitting there and quiet, and then finally I look at him. I say, well, what do I owe you? What else am I going to say?
Yeah, really, someone needs to say something.
And he turns and looks at me directly for the very first time in this entire experience. And he's like, I'll get back to you. Turns around. I get the nod, the head direction.
Time to leave.
It's time to leave. We walk back up to the truck. In the meantime, Jake has not moved. And so I come back up there, and he looks at me and goes, so no truck, huh? I'm like, no.
So no truck, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. We'll be back with more from Jessica Thomas in a moment. This is Dark Winter Nights, True Stories from Alaska, the Don't Let Go episode. I'm Rob Prince. Hey, have you got an awesome true story from Alaska that you would like to share? Well, we would love to hear from you. You can submit your story on our website, darkwinternights.com. That's also where you can find our podcast, subscribe to our newsletter, and see the other stuff that we've done. It's all there at darkwinternights.com. When we left Jessica's story, her beloved Datsun pickup truck had just gone completely through the ice and was now sitting peacefully on the bottom of the Chena River in Fairbanks. Here's Jessica.
The next day, I finally work up the courage to call the state troopers because I didn't know what else to do. And so I called the state troopers, and I said, so I crashed through the ice bridge yesterday, and when we attempted to get my truck out of the water, something happened, and the cable broke, and it went from almost completely sunk to completely sunk, and I can't get it out, and I don't know what to do. And the person who answered the phone started laughing.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh. He goes, oh, it's you this year, huh?
Oh, well,
like,
that's kind of comforting.
I mean, yeah, but
Still, it's a little too soon.
I'm kind of fragile.
Yeah, still. But yeah, that's nice.
I'm an 18-year-old delicate fragile.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm. So
And
they're not surprised.
So they're not.
But what do they
surprised.
tell you to do?
So the guy is like, you know what? There's no logins parking in the middle of the river.
There
and I'm like,
isn't?
what? I go, and I know. I'm like, isn't that just astounding? And he goes, yeah, there's no logins parking in the river. He goes, yeah. I'll make a note of it about this. I'll write this down. Get your name and your phone number. I mean, I am so convinced I'm going to jail that when he tells me, oh, there's no logins parking in the river, I'm like, are you?
Oh my gosh!
Kidding me?
So anyway, they take your information.
So they take my information and they go, you know what? It's gonna run. It's gonna show up some spring. It's gonna show up down spring. In spring, it'll get pushed down river. It'll get pushed up on one of the banks. This has happened before. We'll call you and you'll get a truck or something. Another tow truck and get it pulled out and it'll be done.
No big
deal. He goes, no big deal.
Wow.
So I give him my name and my mom and dad's phone number because I don't want him to find me. Because I am
You're still not sure this isn't a trick.
I am not very trusting. I am not very trusting.
So this is March. So spring is a couple months away.
Yeah.
What happens between then,
there.
it just sits there.
It just sits there. About August.
August?
August.
Well after spring.
And
now we're into fall again.
Yeah. August. My dad calls me. And and now he decides to talk to me. So he calls me and he goes, "Hey, so you made the front page of the newspaper." And I went, it wasn't me. I don't care what you think you're reading. I not me. So anyways, he finally reads me the title of a little article on the front page of the paper. It says, "Would the owner of the blue pickup truck in the middle of the Chena River please contact the Alaska State Troopers?" But at that moment though, I'm like, the law has changed.
No, they made a law.
They made a law. And and of course, so I'm like, I am not going to jail, Dad. And I said, besides that, if they really wanted to talk to me, they have your phone number. And my dad's like, what? I'm like, I gave them yours and Mom's phone number.
But somehow they lost it or something.
So I have like full on, I really am going to go to jail meltdown.
Right.
So I convinced my dad that he's going to call the troopers on my behalf.
That's a nice dad thing to do.
Yes.
And so what was the deal? Why would they want to talk to you?
So they really did lose the piece of paper or whatever report that I called in. But anyways, Dad calls them. And apparently, so I should skip back. So the summer before, the summer of 1992, this gorgeous, brand new, amazing, beautiful hotel was built right there on the river. It was a big deal. The
Princess Lodge?
The Princess Lodge.
Yeah.
Right there. And it's just beautiful. And it's got this gorgeous view of the river. And they're so excited. And it opened in the spring of 1993. And for some reason, their guests who pay good money for these Riverview rooms do not enjoy looking at my cute little pickup truck that is still sitting right where she sunk. Dottie is sitting right where she sunk in the middle of the river on the sandbar. She hasn't moved at all.
Summer.
And apparently from those high up rooms, you look down, doesn't matter that the river is silty. You can see her. Yeah, they're not real pleased with their $1 million riverfront view property right now. And the commentary from their, guests. And also it's, again, remember I said it was pretty shallow there? So she's also gotten hit a few times by boats.
Whoa. So she's like
she's
like less than a foot under the water.
Less than a foot. She's like
now
6.
the water level changes,
Yes,
but yeah.
but in general, she's like 6 inches to whatever.
Wow.
Like her antenna sticks out of the water.
Oh my gosh!
And somebody has tied survey tape around her antenna, so that's really
But
even
this
adding
is a
to
busy
the
river with fast-moving jet skis and boats.
Somebody I heard, and so I haven't been back there. I didn't even realize. So this was what was going on. Somebody had hit it on a Sea-Doo.
Ooh.
And that wasn't great because that's can be very dangerous, and because you just can't see it.
Right.
So, and then boats have hit it, and in the meantime, so the roof of it has gotten caved in a little bit from getting hit by motor vehicle or motor vehicles, boats and such. So the state troopers have taken up this search for the dastardly person who owns this vehicle. Because of all these situations, the state of Alaska has decided to use it as a diving rescue training operation.
Wow.
So
they pick a day.
So they pick a day. I was not there. I refused to go because I was convinced that I was still going to get arrested.
Wow.
So I got Dad to go.
Oh my gosh.
And he shows up, and sure enough, the state of Alaska's got a bunch of divers there, and they hook up to her, gets it pulled out, and they're looking the back end of it, and there's 8 sandbags in the back end of it. Mm-hmm. And Dad says, so when I told you to go throw 4 bags of sand in the back end of your pickup truck for traction, I saw that you did that. He goes, so what was the idea behind putting 8 bags of sand in the back of your pickup truck? And I was like, well, if it wasn't crazy expensive, and if 4 bags is good, then 8 bags are better, right?
Plus 4 bags was probably already overkill.
Yes.
He's probably like, she might go cheap.
Yeah.
Really, you only need 2.
Yeah. Well,
oh my gosh.
I am an overachiever.
Right.
And so my dad is like, well, that really does explain why she sunk like a brick and then never didn't move 1 inch.
This is the ultimate test of traction.
Yes.
She passed.
But her life is over-ish. So my dad's a mechanic, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So he can't help himself.
Right.
So he drains all the water out of her, replaces all the fluids, but then it starts up.
Oh my God.
It starts up. It sat in the river for 5 months. My dad drove Dottie around for about 3 months, I think, just because he could. So my dad ended up selling her to a guy who turned her into a truck trailer. The people they cut out.
They just take the bed
and turn it into a trailer. And I used to catch for a while after that. I would see her sometimes.
Whoa!
And that was really devastating.
That
actually,
must be.
It was hard to see her rear end.
That's like a great grandparent coming back, but just an arm.
Yeah. Let me tell you about it. It was hard.
That was Jessica Thomas. She and I sat down to record her story in February 2023. Thanks so much for listening to Dark Winter Nights True Stories from Alaska, the Don't Let Go episode. Today's episode was edited by myself, Rob Prince. Story consultation by Lori Neufeld. Remember, these are the stories we tell up here in Alaska on Dark Winter Nights. I'm Rob Prince.